Well, hello, sports fans, and welcome back to Sports on the Spot. My name is Willie Charger, and today we have Nick James, who's returning from assignment, who's going to be back and give us his insights on the sports world. And later on, of course, we have Ronnie and Lenny, who will be checking in with their rundown and lowdown. Nick, we missed you last week. While you were gone, was anything that happened big in the sports world in your neck of the woods?
Willie, while I was on the East Coast, I was still keeping track of sports on the West Coast. And the big thing for me, after watching the Giants get out of the playoffs, now the Dodgers are down 0-2. I'm just loving it. I call it the Padres' revenge. I just don't think they have any business going back to the World Series. So pretty excited to see them down 0-2. I know a lot of people I know will disagree with that. What'd you notice, Willie?
Well, I'm one of those that will disagree with you, Nick. I'm kind of disappointed about the Dodgers, and I know some people are second-guessing manager Roberts' late inning relief decisions, but we'll see what happens in that series. For me, it was also my headline, because I'm a Laker fan, happened just this afternoon. It looks like the Lakers claimed Avery Bradley off waivers from the Golden State Warriors, and we have another ex-Laker who is now coming back to be a new Laker. Welcome back, Avery Bradley. Hopefully he can contribute to the Lakers this year. So that was my big sports news. And you're going to hear a lot more about the Lakers from me as soon as the season starts very soon. Before I get too much further, I wanted to give Lenny a chance to give us his Lenny lowdown. So take it away, Lenny.
One of the oldest debates in sports is about which sport has the best athletes. First, we need to define what athleticism is, and it's a combination of many things: speed, power, agility, aerobic capacity, balance, coordination, good looks, and of course, mental strength. So the question is, what sport demands the most of these things? Well, baseball advocates point out that the most difficult thing in sports is hitting a major league pitch, which requires many of the components I mentioned, but little in the way of aerobic fitness, for example. Well, what about basketball? Certainly a very impressive display of athletic prowess is Michael Jordan flying through the air past 6 defenders to sink a 4-pointer. That takes power, speed, and coordination, but not so much in the way of agility, right? Every sport requires some of the skills that I listed, but only one requires an abundance of all of them, and that sport is foosball. Not football with a T, but foosball with an S. Foosball is loosely derived from soccer, but it's actually far more difficult, as the field of play is only about 1/100th the size of a soccer field, meaning that on defense you have about 1/100th of the time to react to an attempted goal shot. And speaking of goal shots, in soccer, what do? You kick the ball. Something any first grader can do. But in football, the kicking is done with a lightning fast, extremely powerful flick of the wrist, timed to the split second. As a soccer player, you're responsible for one player, yourself, and you don't even use your whole body. Your arms mostly just flop around. In contrast, with foosball, your arms, legs, and mind are all fully engaged, coordinating the actions of 13 positions while also keeping track of the ball, which, by the way, travels at a higher velocity than a major league fastball. And as far as strength goes, well, I'm a foosball player, and not bragging, but I've been told that I'm cut like a piece of cheese. So if you want to see the very best all-around athletes in action, basketball, you missed your shot. Football, take a hike. Foosball, we're going to take you for a spin.
Well, thanks a lot for that, Lenny. And we hope to hear more from you on your valuable insights in the future. Fellas, well, I wanted to talk a little about the NFL. Ron, I'm glad you're here to join us on this conversation, but I just wanted to tell you both what I learned about the NFL this past weekend, week number 6. First of all, I learned that the Arizona Cardinals are the team to beat in the entire NFL. Right now, they're undefeated. Their quarterback, Tyler Murray, is playing at MVP level. They went into Cleveland and really beat down the Browns on the road. Keep an eye on those Arizona Cardinals. Of course, don't overlook the Cowboys. Dak Prescott continues in his MVP campaign, comeback player of the year. They came back at New England and won a very, very tight ball game. Dallas is legit. Of course, right here in Southern California, we had the Los Angeles Rams. Stafford, quarterback, playing lights out, 4 more touchdowns. Cooper Kupp, his number 1 receiver. The Rams defense with Aaron Donald playing lights out. Don't sleep on the Rams. Speaking of Southern California football, I have to bring up the Chargers. Nick, they laid an egg in Baltimore this past weekend. What happened to the Bolts?
Willie, for all the affirmation the Chargers pass defense gets, we are ranked last in run defense going into this game. In the first quarter, it looked like they were just going to run away with it. I mean, they had 3 rushers with over 40 yards. I think they had about 190 on the ground total. And in the second quarter, it looked like they were kind of getting away from the run, and it looked like we might have a shot to kind of get back in this. Of course, we get another missed field goal, and then the second half, they just dragged us. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, maybe the Chargers had trouble handling success of after the last 2 weeks, but while it is alarming, we're going into a bye. I'm not going to, throw the red flag yet, but it was pretty hard to watch after 2 really, really good wins.
I'm with you, Nick. I'm not ready to bail on the Chargers just yet, but certainly there was a lot of buzzkill over what happened. They got beat down in just about every phase of the game in Baltimore. I still stand by what I said about the Chargers and still stand by what I said about Justin Herbert, but clearly they are still a work in progress. Now, if you would have told me at the start of the season that they'd be 4-2, tied for first place in the AFC West, I'd be pretty happy. And in fact, that's where they are right now. You mentioned a bye week. I think it's coming at a pretty good time. Keep in mind, they've played the toughest part of their schedule. In the last 11 games, I was looking at it, and they only have 2 teams on their schedule that made the playoffs this last year. And one of them, Kansas City, they already beat. It was definitely a tough loss, but I look at the big picture. The Ravens have been contenders the last 3 years. They got a coach in Harbaugh and a quarterback, MVP quarterback in that definitely are a team to consider.
Well, I would almost disagree that they had a really good game against us, but they barely beat the Lions. They barely came back against the Chiefs and the Colts even last week. So, they're looking really good at 5-1, but they could be 3-3 right now. And yeah, they dragged us, but I don't know. I don't think the Ravens are going to have the offense to be pulling that off in the playoffs. So that's what makes it hurt even more for me.
Ron, what do you think?
Well, I think you guys need to get a grip. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the league complaining about losing 1 game. Try being 1 in whatever the Giants are, and then see how that feels. I think you guys will be fine, and I wouldn't really worry about 1 loss at the Ravens, one of the toughest places to play. I just want to say, though, one of the teams we haven't talked about at all is the Packers. How about winning 5 straight since starting off with the loss? I think a lot of people have kind of just dismissed the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. And I kind of am getting the feeling now that Rodgers is on a mission to prove, that he's still the best quarterback in the league. I'm not saying that he is, but with all these young guys here, that's being talked about with Kyler Murray and Josh Allen and Mahomes or whatever. I can see Rodgers playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and then he will give the middle finger to the Packers after the season after he wins the Super Bowl with them. So I'm kind of excited for that.
I agree. I think that the Packers are probably the best team out in the NFC, if not maybe the NFL. I know Willie's riding the Cardinals train, but they've been really dominant, and just like Ron said, Aaron Rodgers, his tenacity right now, just swearing at the Bears crowd after an old lady gave him the double birds. I love it. I think that they're going to be really hard to beat. And they got a game coming up, too, so we'll really see who's who.
Arizona's so lucky. They get DeAndre Hopkins, then they go and get Zach Ertz, the tight end, over the weekend. I mean, the rich just seem to get richer all the time. I know we have another big weekend of games coming up this week. And Nick, you got any picks for us?
Yeah, actually, I got a few picks, and I'm looking at the schedule, and another week of slated with kind of boring games. So I tried to pick the 4 games I was the most excited for. First one's being the Titans and the Chiefs. Titans are actually the underdog here, and I know as of filming they play tonight against the Bills, but I think Derrick Henry's just going to drag the Chiefs like the Ravens dragged the Chargers. I don't think they're going to be able to stop him, and they're just going to control the ball, keep Mahomes off the field. I got Ravens-Bengals. As much as I just said that I don't think the Ravens are that great, I think they got the Bengals number. They're both standing pretty in their division in the AFC. I think the Ravens rushing attack is going to prevail there too. Rams-Lions, not that exciting, not a hard pick to make. Obviously, you're going to take the Rams here. I'm more excited about the revenge game with Matt Stafford playing against the Lions, Jared Goff going back against the Rams. I would love to see Goff stick it to the Rams, but I'm going to take Stafford and the Rams here for the win. And then last, I wasn't excited about this game at first, but I felt like, the Colts-Niners Sunday night game, the Colts have had a couple really close ones despite how shaky and wonky they look, where the Niners wins haven't been that impressive either. I think Carson Wentz and their win yesterday against Houston was really good, and that they're going to carry that into this Sunday night's game. A couple fantasy picks for you. If you're hurting in running back trouble like me, I lost Kareem Hunt last weekend. Keep an eye out for Rashad Penny coming back from IR. Carson Collins are both banged up. And if Khalil Herbert is still on your waivers, get him now. That's one guy I missed on last week, and I regretted it as he totally balled out. I put the brakes on the Raiders with the wait and see approach as well. They definitely proved me wrong last week. Have to admit that. If you're desperate and brave, I'm taking Henry Ruggs. He's still available in a few of my leagues. And then the last thing to look out for is that Zach Ertz trade. He looked good as the number 1 for the Eagles with Goddard out. And then the day later goes to the high-powered Arizona offense. So if you need a tight end, Ertz is a guy to be looking out for.
Oh, Nick, thanks a lot. A lot to digest there. Have to keep an eye on what happens this upcoming weekend. And we'll stop here, and then we'll come back and take it over to Ronnie for his rundown. So you ready? Ronnie, take it away.
All right, so another week. We didn't do so hot with the picks, but as Vinnie Valvucci always says, you never lost unless you quit, all right? But it's a bummer. To make matters worse, I'm eating a burrito that I thought it was like a Philly. It's like a frozen burrito. I thought it was Philly cheesesteak burrito. Turns out it's like a beef, rice, whatever burritos. And so I ended up putting some mayonnaise and mustard on it. So now I'm eating mayonnaise and mustard on like a Mexican style burrito. So I'm a little pissed off about that. But what are you going to do? And again, you're going to lose unless you quit. I'll just cook up another one and it's fine. Anyway, we'll talk picks for this week. Some games I like. Right off the bat, we're going to go Packers -9 against the football team. Aaron Rodgers is a man on a mission right now. He's saying F you to everybody. That whole thing with the Bears was pretty cool, but I think he's kind of just in that mode of, him against everybody else. So I'm going to go Packers -9, and they're awesome. I'm going to do Titans +5.5 against the Chiefs. 2 high-powered offenses, 2 absolutely terrible defenses. So I can see them going toe-to-toe and, the game going like a field goal. The Chiefs may win by a field goal, but 5.5 points. So I would imagine that's going to be a close game, a lot of points scored. But I'll take the home team with the 5.5 points. And then lastly, I'm going to go Bengals +6.5 at the Ravens. I think, the Ravens are good, but they're probably not as good as their record shows. They did destroy the Chargers. That was a weird one, but Bengals looking pretty good. Joe Burrow's looking really good. And kind of the same thing. I'm sure they could go toe-to-toe with the Ravens and 6.5 points. You never know, or like a backdoor cover, with a guy like Burrow. So I think that's well within reason. So I'll go Bengals 6.5. So we got Packers -9, Titans +5.5, and Bengals +6.5. And good luck.
Thanks, Ron. It's time now for the Sports on the Spot question. And one of our viewers, Ticky Tacky Tumbleweed, sent us a question about a very controversial topic. The question is, are the Raiders better off without John Gruden? What do you think, guys?
No, I don't think the Raiders are better off without John Gruden. I don't know who the special teams guy is to replace them, but I don't think coaching is going to make a difference with that team. they won Sunday at Denver, but you got to remember Denver's pretty crummy, and I think they would have won the game whether or not John Gruden was a coach or not. So they're a mediocre team with John Gruden, and they're going to be a mediocre team without him.
I disagree, Willie. After watching the Raiders lose to the Bears last week, I thought they were just going to crumble. They were already on the downhill there, and sure enough, they come out swinging against the Broncos. I thought their defense was just going to eat them all up. I think there's a lot of morale boost there. It just shows the kind of negative presence that John Gruden had on the whole team and the organization.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know who this special teams guy is, but I thought the obvious replacement for John Gruden would have been Frank Caliendo, who does a stellar impression of John Gruden. I mean, they basically could have had the same guy be their coach in Frank Caliendo. So I kind of would have liked to have seen that, and that would have been a little bit more entertaining than whatever loser special teams coach this is. But Willie's right. Yeah, I think they're just mediocre. It probably doesn't matter, and who cares?
Well, I don't know about who cares. I can speak to this with some authority because, not to be a name dropper, but I actually personally know John Gruden, and it's a different one. The one I know, his name ends with Ian, not Ian, and a guy I used to work with, and he didn't even like the Raiders. He hated the Raiders. Plus he's not a coach, so I can't even imagine him being in that position in the first place.
Wow, interesting take there, Lenny. Thanks for that. On that note, we're going to have to end this week's show. We're out of time. I wanted to thank everybody for watching the show, reminding everybody to like, comment, subscribe if they have an opportunity. We are still accepting Sports on the Spot questions, and you can submit them to the sportsonthespot@gmail.com, or else just ask the question in our YouTube channel, and we'll get back to you on that. So once again, that's going to be it for today's show. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you all next week.
Unbelievable.